This ESPN podcast is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com.
SeatGeek is the smartest, easiest way to find tickets for the football games you want to see up close and in person this season. There's nothing like being in the stadium for the biggest plays of the year, and with SeatGeek, it's never been easier to get the guaranteed seats you want for a great value. With SeatGeek, you always get the best deal on every ticket because SeatGeek price compares for you by searching multiple ticket sites. Prices can vary depending on where you shop, but SeatGeek will always find you the lowest available price. And SeatGeek wants to help you get the most bang for your buck. That's why every ticket on SeatGeek is given a grade based on value. You'll immediately see any underpriced seats and be able to find the best deal to fit your budget. Plus, every ticket you buy on SeatGeek is backed by their 100% guarantee, so you can shop for tickets on SeatGeek with confidence. Best of all, my listeners get a $20 rebate off their first SeatGeek purchase. To get your $20 rebate on tickets, download the SeatGeek app, go to the Settings tab, and click Add a Promo Code. Enter promo code Mike. SeatGeek will send you $20 after you've made your first ticket purchase. Download the SeatGeek app and enter the promo code Mike today.
This is Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
Smooth Louis Riddick is ready to roll on a Monday. How are you, Louis?
Was that the best NFL weekend so far? By far.
That is the ball game. The Seahawks have won in New England. What a comeback. Man, oh man alive.
I don't think Green Bay's getting back up off the mat.
Yeah, I'm with you, Greeny. I think that they need to reset this offseason in a number of different ways.
The final four teams are going to be Alabama, Clemson, Wisconsin, and...
Now, here's Mike and Mike.
Here we are, Mike and Mike, presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Winning word of the morning, 20 minutes away. We'll give you the winning word on this, the penultimate day of our contest, which is brought to you by AutoZone. We're going to give you the word. Golis can give you the ways to enter, and you could be on your way with us to the College Football National Championship game. Meanwhile, in the open, Louis, we heard you saying it there, and Mike and I said it as well. Obviously, the reverberations of the presidential election are still being felt, but generally speaking, that is now sort of behind us, all of the coverage and everything else. And so one of the things that was the thing that we're attributing the lower TV ratings in the football to was maybe the presidential election. Well, you couldn't ask for a better football weekend from what we got Saturday into yesterday. So I'll be very curious to see what the television story is based upon the extraordinarily compelling football that we got.
Yeah, I think growing up as a kid, we all want to see the 4 o'clock games be the ones where they have the most compelling, the most nostalgic matchups. We got that yesterday. And then last night, I mean, what better game could you ask for? You knew it was going to be like that between those two football teams. You saw the respect that Bill and Pete Carroll showed after the game was over to one another. That's what Tommy was talking about. Tommy Waddle was talking about that. He needed that. He needed that to restore his faith in the fact that the game is still heading in the right direction. Although I think, Golick, I'm with you, a lot of that's overblown as far as the quality of football.
Yeah.
But yesterday we got a little bit of the old school style in terms of the smash mouth football. We still have the spread type of stuff that really kind of gets fans excited from a fantasy football perspective. You kind of got the best of both worlds yesterday.
You did, and you had it going into it because of Dallas at Pittsburgh and Seattle going to New England. This coming week slate of games, you don't really have any of those marquee type of matchups where you say beforehand, oh, yeah, that's the matchup I'm looking for. Now, I think we'll get some excellent games, and we'll still get those one-score games and some good competitive games. I absolutely think that. But this past weekend, we did see at least two of those marquee games, those matchups that you said, okay, I'm really kind of looking forward to this.
Louis, you're right. Because take the team that you root for out of the equation. What does the modern NFL Sunday, what is it you want it to feel like? You want all those finishes in the 1 o'clock games on Red Zone, and you couldn't have asked for more than you got yesterday. Yep. Then you want that great game in the middle afternoon spot, and we got it. Mm-hmm. Not only was it the traditional powers in Dallas and Pittsburgh, but they lived up in every conceivable way to the final 5 seconds, and then it culminates with a good game at night. Okay, so we are asked to pick the MVP moment of the week. It's brought to you by Sport Clips. You watch sports, we cut hair. It's perfect. Sport Clips. It's good to be a guy. So for that, let's let each of us choose an MVP. Mike, if you had to cast a vote for MVP of the National Football League right now, who gets it?
It's tough not to go with Zeke Elliott. It really is difficult to not go with him, what he's doing. He has leading the league in rushing, has over 1,000 yards rushing. Quite honestly, when I looked at it, I actually thought he had more receptions. He has 18 receptions, though, for another 250 yards, so over 1,250 total yards. Now, we keep, and especially I do, keep singing the praises of that offensive line, and I think they're obviously a monster part of that. But still, this guy's going out and doing it. He's a rookie. And we got it, we're sitting at 8-1, 9 games, so let's give it another few weeks to see if he gets close to a rookie wall. On hitting that, you're looking at touches right now, 198 carries along with 18 receptions. So you're looking at, 216 touches right now. So we'll see where that gets to. Does he hit kind of a wall, or can they rest him some with Alfred Morris running as well? But right now, you have to look at where are we right now. That's what you're asking. Brady had a bit of an off game, no touchdowns and an interception. Derek Carr was off with a bye. Matt Ryan, they didn't have that big numbers game, and that's one of the reasons his name has been up there for the numbers that he's had, thanks in part a lot to Julio Jones. So Zeke Elliott is just getting the job done all the way around right now.
Lewis.
I'm with you. I'm picking the same guy. And look, I'll say this too, and I'm with you with the offensive line play. Nothing ever happens in a vacuum in the NFL. It's not Zeke behind just, 5 undrafted free agents who are just barely hanging on to get into the National Football League now. I mean, you got some guys here that are grade A, premium, all-pro caliber players that are making his job easier. But, what Zeke's effect is on this football team is it's just not on the running game. Obviously, he's helping out Dak Prescott the same way they were hoping he would help out Tony Romo, and he is also helping out this defense. So his effect is touching everything involving this football team, and that's the very definition of most valuable, is what he means to all 3 phases of this football team right now. If you could really give it to a position group, I'm telling you, and I know that'll never happen, but look, if you really put on some football tape and watch these guys,
do it, wouldn't it?
I mean, they seriously, mano a mano, man-to-man, they make people not want to play against
the Cowboys' offensive line.
Absolutely. Yeah. They make you go, look, I know that come hour 2, it's hour 2, hour 3 of the football game, these guys are getting the best of me, and I can't do anything about it, and I don't want any more of that. And that goes so far, especially at this time of year where people are getting tired, and if you start getting knocked out of, contention for a playoff berth, they're going to steamroll some people because people are just going to quit on them. And when you quit against a team that's just better than you, it's just going to look even more dramatic, and they're going to gain even more confidence. And that's why Dallas is very dangerous right now.
I probably would go the same way. If I was going to, just for the sake of argument, be a contrarian and pick someone else, I'd say Derek Carr is out of sight, out of mind because they didn't play this week. Sure. He's overcoming a lot more because the Raiders' defense is not good.
Right.
The Cowboys are a thoroughly complete football team.
And that's kind of, we didn't think that would happen.
No.
We didn't think their defense
How is their defense doing this?
I'm going to say this, though. Look, I'm not that far in on their defense right now. I still think there were things yesterday that the Steelers, when you watch the Cowboys, and if you break down their film during the year, there are things that you can really attack this football team in the middle of the field, that 18 to 20-yard area between the numbers and the hash. Play action pass, you could sit there and complete 15, 18-yard dig routes on them all day long and just march down the field against them all day long if you have the play-calling style and the offensive style to really get after them that way. So I'm not all in on their defense in that manner. And I'll say this, too, about the Oakland Raiders. Their defense is getting better. Khalil Mack is coming on. Their secondary play, Carl Joseph, those guys are starting to play much, much better. I'm not going to – where I was bashing them earlier in the year, and they looked awful when you saw them against teams like the Saints earlier in the year and the Falcons earlier in the year. That's not the same defense anymore. I think that football team, that would be another one of those matchups I'd love to see right now is Oakland versus Dallas.
I
would love to see that game.
Completely agree because neither defense – while Dallas's defense is exceeding the expectations we had for them, neither of these defenses is a great defense.
No.
Not by any stretch.
That'd be a heck of a matchup.
Of the imagination, but these are the 2 best offensive lines. So to see how they would try and control the game, if and when they could play one another, would be really something to watch.
I agree. They're not the 85 Bears, but they don't give up a lot of points, and they get pressure on the quarterback.
True.
And those are valuable things. And then at every single place that you look on the offense, the Cowboys are sensational. And if you look at the numbers that Prescott is putting up, no quarterback in the history of the National Football League has thrown for 4,000 yards in a season with fewer than 5 interceptions.
Yeah.
Prescott is on pace to do that. He's on pace to throw for 4,200 yards, and he's only thrown 2 picks in 9 games. And he's a rookie, for crying out loud.
They put it together the right way. It is all of their work when they were making draft picks like Travis Frederick. I mean, guys like that, Zach Martin, when teams were going, that's not really a sexy pick. That's not the kind of pick that you sit there and talk about a lot on draft night. Man, are those picks paying off now. Look, kudos to Jerry Jones. Kudos to their scouting department, because that's the kind of work behind the scenes. It's those kind of acquisitions that right now really force you into the limelight now where people are talking about you. They've done it the right way, man. They've done it the right way.
My wife said yesterday that whoever, and if it was Stephen Jones or not, whoever the actual person was, that said, if maybe it was Stephen that said, Dad, don't take Johnny Manziel, take Zach Martin, should remind Jerry Jones of that every single day. Every day. Whoever it was the one that said, don't take Manziel, take Zach Martin.
If you knew how, like on a razor's edge, those decisions are made in a draft room, and how it can literally be where you're sitting there and you have 2 cards and you have dueling opinions about who to take.
So is this
finally someone just gives in?
This kid is the only one that can talk him out of it? I mean, if Jerry Jones truly wanted Johnny Manziel, I mean, who's the one that talks him out of that?
I don't know. I just would have loved to have heard how it happened after they turned in that card. Because a lot of times, you know what, when someone who's a chief decision maker wants to pick somebody and he gets talked out of it, a lot of times it's like, he better turn out.
Yeah.
He better be good, because that's not who I want. Right. And you know what? Man, they hit a home run on Zach. Yeah. Just hit a home run.
No question about it. And for the record, if I were picking an MVP right now, I think I would also go with Zeke. All right, let's do Straight Talk. It's brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, half the cost. The winning word is in 10 minutes. I have 2 Straight Talk topics for you both. You want the good one or the bad one? First, we're going to do both. You want the good news or the bad news?
You pick, man.
I'm a glass half full guy.
Okay.
Oh, good.
The team that had the best day in the National Football League yesterday was a team that didn't even play. The Detroit Lions had the best day of any team in the National Football League yesterday. The one-time 5-0 Vikings fell to 5-4 with a heartbreaking defeat in a game that could have gone either way. And the Green Bay Packers fell in a way that I'm not sure they're going to get up. They gave up a 75-yard touchdown run to DeMarco Murray before he even got a chance to sit down, and they never recovered. Yeah. And they look terrible, terrible. The Lions, sitting on their bye, now lead the division, and I think if you had to pick a team that you say they're going to wind up winning it, they're the only ones with the arrow pointing in the right direction. Agree or disagree?
I agree. I mean, Minnesota, their line just keeps getting hurt. They have had injuries. Jake Long, at the latest, he's filling in at left tackle.
Not anymore.
He hurts his Achilles. He's done. It was a bad day for anybody named Long, as Kyle Long got hurt for the Chicago Bears as well. Their right guard, their Pro Bowler. But I just, and the defense isn't the great defense we saw early in the season. So if you're talking for both sides of the ball, Lewis, I'd probably agree. It'd be the Detroit Lions.
I'm all over that one. And they are not particularly – look, they can't run the ball very well in Detroit either. It's all the Matt Stafford show, especially in the fourth quarter, and that's why he's another guy who you're going to have to kind of factor into this MVP race down the stretch. In order for them to keep winning, he's going to have to play at that level.
He's got a lot of weapons.
That's right. The defense, the secondary is very, very suspect. But they are, right now, it's not really, it's not one of these situations where I think they're necessarily just benefiting from a bad division. I like some of the things that they do. They have a great chemistry on that football team, too, a great belief that if they can just keep it close to the fourth quarter, they can win games. The Vikings, though, is one of the stunning, turnarounds and how quickly you can go from the penthouse to the outhouse in the NFL just so quickly. You're just not going to win football games running the football for 2.2 yards per carry like they did yesterday. And it just continues to get worse. And Stephon Diggs has about as good a game as you can have yesterday. But you're right, that defense, ever since Jordan Howard just gutted them when they went to Chicago, they don't look the same as far as stopping the run. And in the secondary, they're just not the same shutdown type of team. And now I know that a lot of that has to do with offenses adjusting how they attack this team too. A lot of quick drops. They're not letting the pass rush kind of go off like they were earlier in the season, but everything is just kind of rolling downhill on them right now. It started with the O-line, and it's just seeping into the rest of that football team. Their confidence looks like it's shot.
Then let's get to the bad news of my Straight Talk. The 2 teams that suffered the worst losses yesterday were the Panthers, who had a 17-point lead in the fourth quarter. They had the game as iced away as you can have a game iced away, and they let it get away on the Eric Berry return and the fumble, but they yanked the ball. A heartbreaking, devastating defeat at home for Carolina. And then the Saints, who throw what looks like it's going to be a go-ahead touchdown and instead lose the game on a 2-point conversion block run back, or an extra point that gets blocked and run back for 2 points. So they give up 2 points and then have to kick off, which is like the worst circumstance you've ever seen in your life.
Unreal.
And that's how they lose. So the Panthers and Saints lose the worst games you could ever imagine, right? And do you know what else they have in common? They play each other Thursday night.
Oh, my God.
Thursday night. Those teams have no time to get over this loss. Those two teams, in what amounts to an elimination game, play each other on Thursday night coming off those losses.
Yeah, the Saints have to be sick. I mean, a lot of us have started to count out Carolina, though they looked really good yesterday. And surprisingly enough, the Saints were in a position at home to stay with the same amount of, because Atlanta lost. The Saints would have only had 4 losses, and Atlanta has 4 losses if they could have pulled that game off. So they've been kind of a surprise team with a really horrible defense somehow finding a way. But this is the second time they've lost on that extra point, 2-pointer against them. It's been unbelievable. And with Carolina, I reverse that as well. You're right, Green. That was a devastating loss. And I think for the Chiefs, I think that was the best win of the weekend. To go on the road, be down like they were, score 17 in the fourth quarter, win that game, and stay even with a team that's idle in the Oakland Raiders. I think it was a monster win for them. But, yeah, Carolina and the Saints, 2 devastating losses.
Well, the Saints the Saints brutalized Trevor Siemian yesterday, though. I mean, they put a beating on him. I think probably his worst beating of the year, the way they were hitting him yesterday. I think that defense now, whereas is it championship caliber in the traditional sense? No. But they are playing with a different spirit now down there. And you know that they're always in it with that offense, because that offense is championship worthy, I believe.
Yeah.
I think the offensive line down there, the way Mark Ingram and Tim Hightower have been running the football, that 1-2 punch, they've got their offensive line squared away. Andrews Pete, their first-round pick from Stanford, I think is one of those guys who I wanted to talk about on TV yesterday and didn't get a chance to. He's playing some of the best football of offensive linemen that you'll see in the NFL. Him and Max Unger. I mean, these guys are playing some good football down there. For them to lose that way is heartbreaking, but I think it's really exactly what they need is to get back on the football field quick, both of those teams, because you know how that stuff just eats at you. It really does. And the Saints, I think the Saints are kind of like, they kind of remind me a little bit of like the Chargers as being that team you don't want to play because Drew can just ring it up on you like a slot machine on offense. And their defense, I'm telling you, that defense will lay it on you now. They may not be strong across the board at all 3 levels, but they will lay it on you, and the Saints can rise up and kind of surprise anybody at any time.
That was as brutal a way to lose a football game. Just quickly, did either of you think he was out of bounds?
It looked it to me.
It kind of looked it to me. Could you tell enough?
The white shoes on the white line.
Line
I thought he was out. When they were replaying, I thought he was out.
See, the thing is, because of what the play was, you don't have a camera ready to be like right there because no one expects a guy to be running up the left sideline on an extra point. So the one look you have that really matters is so far away.
But it kind of looked like he was out, but could you say 100%, and that's what it has to be?
Would you have overturned it?
I probably would not have
I wouldn't have either.
No.
If there's not definitive evidence.
No, what a great jump again. This has become the in vogue thing to jump the center. And what was more interesting, Crick, the D lineman, actually pushed down on the center. That you saw the guy on the line push down the center while his teammate jumped over the center. It's going to get real interesting where the league goes with that.
I'm not quite sure how I feel about all the uncertainty surrounding extra points and field goals and how they have affected the outcomes of football games and affected strategy. I know that seems to be exactly what they wanted. I'm not quite sure how I feel.
Love it.
I'm not quite sure how I feel about it.
That you have to kick a 30-some yard, basically extra point, so it's not a gimme anymore.
Yeah.
Nothing in sports should be a gimme. Nothing. So they've taken something that was basically a gimme that was made 99% of the time. Now it's down to 95%. Now it's still an incredible almost gimme, but that 4% has made quite a difference.
Without a doubt. I think the effect that it has had on kickers mentally,
I agree,
and on the strategy as far as how you are attacking this from a block scheme perspective, has really made it interesting for special teams coaches. I just don't know how I feel about it.
I agree with Lewis. I don't like it. I understand what you're saying.
You don't like the extra point?
No, I don't. I don't want
it.
games decided by extra point misses. I mean, that's not exciting to me. They wanted to add something exciting. That's not exciting.
What what? So an extra point is not exciting. Now you've added something where there's actually a chance they might miss it. I don't know how you wouldn't think that's better.
I don't know how you wouldn't think
do you want nothing that's a gimme in sports? And that was as close to a gimme in any sport, anywhere, at any time, than the normal extra point.
And yet it never bothered me that was a gimme. A touchdown was worth 7 points if you wanted it, and that seems okay to me.
It'd be interesting to see how fans really feel about that, about the fact that your offense can go up and down the football field, play a really good football game, and you're losing football games because these extra points have become not gimmies anymore. And I know, look, I mean, I'm sure you'll find it 50-50 that some people really like the uncertainty and some people don't. I'm kind of wavering on it right now.
Oh, I love it.
Mike and Mike, Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage in America's largest and most dependable networks. One, just very quickly, a team we have not given any love to this morning. We talk about great road wins yesterday. Seattle won a great game on the road. Dallas won a great game on the road. Kansas City. How about Miami?
Yep,
Miami
that's what I was saying earlier.
San Diego. How many times can you intercept Phillip Rivers in a huge spot?
Yep.
Rivers in a tie game is driving for a game-winning field goal, throws a pick six, then gets it back again and is trying to drive down there to get them back in it and throws another interception.
Yep.
The Dolphins are playing, and you pointed out them playing better. They're playing a lot better right now. The Dolphins are actually a team to be reckoned with in the AFC right now.
For the same reasons that the Dallas Cowboys are in the NFC, the same reasons that the Raiders are in the AFC. That offensive line is taking control of football games. They play a certain style of offensive football that just, again, will test your will and your fortitude late in football games. And Jay Ajayi, look, he is just putting it on people. And look, Dolphins fans, I know I was all over your football team after you lost to the Tennessee Titans. And don't tell me you didn't deserve it because your team flat out quit that day. But ever since they got Tunsil back and Brandon Albert is back and those guys have started running the football, there's without a doubt in the AFC, you better look out for them. You don't want to play them.
We're just rolling along right now on Mike and Mike, and we'll continue. But again, the most important thing we have is today's the second to last day of our winning word contest. You want to win a trip with us thanks to AutoZone to the College Football National Championship game. It's as easy as this. I'm giving you the word right now, and Golic is giving you the two ways to enter. Use both. And you could be like John from Roseville, Michigan, Dustin from Cadiz, Ohio, C-A-D-I-Z. Do you know how to pronounce that?
I don't either.
From somewhere in Ohio.
Yeah.
And George from Dayton, Ohio, and all the other winners. There's a winner every day, and each with a guest on their way with us to the College Football National Championship game. Today's word is crazy. C-R-A-Z-Y is the word of the morning, and here's how you enter.
Two ways to enter. You can enter both ways, but again, gang, these are the only two ways. So you text the winning word to 777-000, or you enter it online at mikesroadtothecfp.com. Again, enter the word by texting it to 777-000, or enter it online at mikesroadtothecfp.com.
All right, so get in both ways today. Double your chance of winning. We look forward to taking you to the championship game. Speaking of which, coming up next, I strongly believe a non-conference champion is going to make the Final Four in college football this year. I'll tell you which one and why right after this word from Protection One. Mike, if we had to choose a favorite feature of our Protection One home security systems, which both of us have in our homes, it would be tough to choose among the many features.
For me, it would be the control I have over my entire home. All you need is your tablet or phone. You can arm and disarm your system, turn the lights on and off, control the locks, the garage door, the thermostat. It's all right at your fingertips. And their service is incredible. It's really, they treat everybody like a king and a queen. They're consistently earning an A-plus Better Business Bureau rating. They have a 97.3% customer satisfaction rating. And it's not just for sports people. It's for everybody out there. They are going to treat you great. Go to ProtectionOne.com/Mike for Protection One home security system starting at just about $1 a day. Get control over your home today. Back after this, Mike and Mike.
Mike, in our SportsCenter update, a terrific NFL Sunday culminated in a very dramatic finish. Seahawks beat the Patriots 31-24. Stop me if this sounds familiar. A game between these two teams comes down to the ball on the 1-yard line, and that team not scoring. We saw that in the Super Bowl, and now we see it again. So Seattle wins. Elsewhere, Jerry Jones says Tony Romo will be active next week and will be the backup to Dak Prescott. Prescott is having an MVP caliber season. Seems impossible to imagine taking him out now. And if you're looking for college basketball, you've come to the right place. The 9th annual College Hoops Tip-Off Marathon begins today. 13 games broadcast across ESPN2 and ESPNU beginning at 6 Eastern. And that is our Sports Center. It is brought to you by AutoZone.
We're giving you a chance to be on the road with us to the national championship game. Just be listening every weekday for your chance to win the Mike and Mike on the Road to College Football Playoff Sweepstakes presented by AutoZone. Visit Mike'sRoadToTheCFP.com for official rules.
Okay, so 2 things I want you to know about the college football. Louis Riddick in our studio, terrific as he is every Monday. 2 things that you should know. One of them is our analytics department puts this together. They go through absolutely everything. And so in advance of whatever it is the committee decides tomorrow night, these are the 4 teams that our analytics department believes should be the top 4. There are 4 teams that rank in the top 5 in the country in both strength of record and in FPI, meaning just what our analytics think are the best teams. And those teams in order are Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, and Louisville. Those are the 4 teams that our FPI is projecting should be the 4 teams tomorrow night. Now, the committee can do whatever it wants.
Sure.
But because of one little factor in all of this, and I don't know how closely people were paying attention to this over the weekend, if Ohio State beats Michigan, Penn State is going to win the Big Ten East.
Yep.
They just are. Their 2 remaining games are against Michigan State, who has only 1 win in the conference, and Rutgers, who, if they score a point in the conference, it's time to stop and celebrate.
Michigan State's win was over Rutgers.
Right. So, I mean, Michigan State they're just having a terrible year. I mean, we associate them with being a good team, and they will be again, but they're having a terrible year.
A bad year, right.
Oh, look, if Penn State loses that game, all of this changes. But this takes you back to what I said before the break. I strongly believe a non-conference champion is going to get in, and I believe that team is going to be Ohio State. I believe Ohio State is going to beat Michigan. And I think we're going to get to the end of the year, and the committee is going to have the following. A, for whatever this is worth, they're a brand, right? Ohio State is a brand. So if you're going to break ties anywhere, Ohio State is a major brand in college football. But let's even take that out of the conversation, okay? Their 1 loss is against a very good Penn State team. Where is Penn State right now? 11 or 12 in the current rankings. They're 10.
Penn State's 10.
And it was on a blocked field goal that got run back for a touchdown on the road. They have wins over Tulsa, who's good, Oklahoma, and that was a very one-sided game. They beat Wisconsin. They beat Nebraska and beat them into the ground. And in order for this to play itself out, they would also have to have beaten Michigan. So they will pass the eye test. Everyone is going to be looking at them saying they can play with anybody in the country. Lewis, your question, who can make Alabama sweat? Well, J.T. Barrett can. You're looking for a quarterback who can do it? Watch that kid play. He's not Lamar Jackson, but he's spectacularly good. I believe Ohio State, Mike, if they beat Michigan, will get in.
No, I don't agree with that. I mean, not just saying that it's going to happen. I still think that if those 1-loss teams, well, forgetting Michigan, as I said, the 1 team would be Washington. That's what this all comes down to. Clemson, if they win the ACC, they're going to be in. And then your scenario throws a little monkey wrench into whether Washington gets in. That's going to be the question. If Washington can finish their season, they still have to play Washington State, which is a ranked team right now. And then they would have to play in the Pac-12 championship. And that side of it right now is controlled by Colorado, who has to play Washington State and Utah, by the way, before see if they can win that side of it. You know, and those are ranked teams as well. And then if Washington were to win the Pac-12 championship, I can't out of hand just say that's going to happen. I just can't do it.
See, I think if Wisconsin were to win the Big Ten championship under the scenario we've just described, I think Ohio State would get in ahead of them. They beat them head up. They're 1 loss that they're going to lose in this tiebreaker, scenario, this round-robin tiebreaker scenario. They have better wins. I mean, I love Wisconsin. I believe if Wisconsin wins the Big Ten, they should get in.
Right.
But I don't know that they wouldn't put Ohio State in ahead of them.
That would be unbelievable. If you start getting teams that go in not even making the conference championship game. And I know, listen, the rule is...
That would be Louisville. If Louisville's going to get in, they're going to get in that way.
No, I know. That's my point. You're supposed to pick the 4 best. And not so much conference champions. But at the end of the day, I just think the committee will put a lot on conference championships.
They could.
I think
if Ohio State played Washington right now on a neutral field, I think everyone, maybe we can ask somebody what the line would be on that game. I believe Ohio State would be favored. Not that should be the decisive factor.
Right.
Lewis, what do you think?
No, look. When you're looking at all this, and it's interesting, Gold, what you just said about conference champions, and I think context really is very important. I understand like the quality of wins, quality of losses. The conference championship thing, I get. There should be some weight put on the fact of whether or not you went through and won your conference here. But I'm a big eye test and context type of person, and that's why I just keep coming back to Louisville. That's why I keep coming back to, and I'll even come back to Ohio State right now. Do I believe that Ohio State at the end of the day deserves to be in the playoffs here? Well, are they one of the top 4 teams in the country? Just watching them play, without a doubt. How they kind of – it'll be interesting to see how the committee really justifies getting in there, who they really believe to be when they watch the games, the 4 best teams. And, they'll be able to point to whatever statistical measures that they want to point to in order to get the 4 teams that they want.
Exactly.
They will justify it however they need to. And you know what? And quite honestly – maybe that's the way it does need to be.
But that's what happens when you put humans involved.
That's right. And maybe it does need to be that way because that's what this game is. Football is a highly subjective football game. A highly subjective sport.
Yeah.
And Mike, you've loved Washington all the way through.
Yes.
I'm not telling you that you're wrong.
No.
But I'm just asking you, where's their win? Like, show me the teams they've beaten that you're so excited about. Their best wins are Stanford and Utah.
Yeah, listen, the Pac-12 is down this year. I mean, Oregon used to be one of the top teams in the country. They're down. Stanford used to be one of the top teams. They're down. I get it. This is in the cycle. It's a down conference. I completely understand that. I'm with you there.
The committee also loves to punish you for playing a bad non-conference schedule.
It was a horrible non-conference schedule.
Yeah.
Horrible non-conference schedule.
I'm just making a prediction. I'm not even telling you whether I think it's right or wrong. I actually think it's right. My prediction right now is that Ohio State, assuming they beat Michigan, now obviously if they lose to Michigan, all of this changes. If they beat Michigan, I believe Ohio State will get in, even without being in the Big Ten title game. That's my prediction.
Well, I mean, this is going to be an interesting scenario for the committee. And the tougher it is, the happier, I guess, I'll be to see what their criteria is. That being said, Lewis, I completely agree with you. They'll make the criteria what they need it to be.
In order to get the teams in there that they want.
What I would always be fascinated with is what they come up with and then take the teams we have now. We have the schedules. We can still, Hembo, correct me if I'm wrong, you could still use all the algorithms you want for the old BCS formula, right? And could you plug everything in? Now, probably not as far as the Harris poll, because the Harris poll was one part of the BCS that was a human poll. It was 115 people.
So plug the committee in that.
into all the other BCS ones and see, I'd love to see the comparison of what teams you came up with then.
By the way, given the hypothetical lines that Westgate Las Vegas gave us last week, it's safe to assume Ohio State would be about a touchdown favorite versus Washington on a neutral field. Don't get me wrong. That shouldn't be the decisive factor in all of this. Right. I'm just telling you, I believe if Ohio State beats Michigan, you look at the season they've had.
Well, I believe they should be in there
cannot believe they don't.
I believe they should be in
Let me ask you this. Do you believe an Ohio State should get in over a Big Ten conference champ?
See, it's going to be very tough to do if it's Penn State because Penn State will have beaten them.
Exactly.
If it's Wisconsin, they will have beaten Wisconsin. I mean, it's a quirky thing the way it goes.
But watching that football game and watching Ohio State play and watching who Ohio State has beaten and watching Penn State play, regardless of how that game turned out head-to-head, they're a better football team than Penn State.
But you can't discount the fact that they played.
You're right.
No way
you're right.
The committee, if Penn State wins the Big Ten, would leave them out and put Ohio State in.
You're a bigger, stronger guy than I am, but if we had a fight and I won, it would be the upset of the millennium, but we can't discount it. Right? We can't be like, if they fought 10 more times, Lewis would win.
Well, does that mean that if we were having like a round-robin type of like fighting tournament here that you should get in instead of me because you got lucky and you sucker punched me and knocked me out?
But the obvious, you're right.
And you caught me right in the temple and knocked me out.
I blocked the field goal and ran it back for a touchdown. Yes, you're 100% right.
Which is what it would be, right?
But the argument against that, no, you're right. I'm not saying, listen.
In the temple.
Okay, bad example. Okay, you want to hear me say I couldn't beat you in a fight. I grant you that, okay?
Actually, that wasn't my point.
I'm not.
No.
You're big, I'm small.
No, Grady, I love you, man.
That's not the point I'm making. Let me go back. Let's erase that I even brought that up. Here's what I'll say is the answer to your question is then why did we play the game in the first place?
Good point.
You know what I mean?
Point.
I mean, if we played each other,
win them when
you
they're
won.
scheduled. You got to win them when they're scheduled. I get it.
So, but that's why I think they find a way to put Ohio State in anyway.
Yeah.
And maybe it would be, to answer your question, Golick, it might be ahead of Wisconsin. they would have a tough time putting them ahead of Penn State because they lost to
I
Penn
don't see
State.
how
they beat Wisconsin.
I understand that. To me, there's no
Wisconsin
way.
would have 2 losses, including to Ohio State.
Yeah.
And Ohio State would only have 1 loss. So even though they played 1 extra game, which was the conference championship game, and they won it, and they won the conference championship for whatever you determine that to be, Ohio State, I think, would still be rated. Ohio State's going to be rated ahead of them now.
Yes, they are.
So nothing is going to change between now and then, except Wisconsin gets one additional game, and it happens to make them the conference champion.
Which there is some meaning to that.
Champion gets in ahead of a 1-loss team that's actually, when you look at it, you know they're better.
That's correct, and they beat them when they played head up. Now, but I think that game went to overtime.
I hope the committee.
I think that was an overtime game, wasn't it? Ohio State, Wisconsin I'm talking about. That was overtime, yeah. So, I mean, it was as close can be. Yeah. Listen, this is the beauty of this.
Yeah, sure.
This is why college football is the best sport, because we can continue talking about this. All of us can have our opinions, and none of us are wrong. Yet. Okay, we continue. Brock Huard on the way. More from Lewis and your reaction on Twitter after this word from Shell. Golick, you know a defensive line will do anything to stop the offense. Now everyone can protect their cars like the pros protect their end zone because Shell V-Power Nitro Plus is the best total engine protection your engine can get, period.
It provides unsurpassed protection against gunk and corrosion, superior protection against wear. You can't beat that kind of protection. Now here's something else that's unbeatable. All Fuel Rewards members can earn rewards on Shell V-Power Nitro Plus. Just sign up free for the Fuel Rewards program at fuelrewards.com/ESPN. We're back after this on Mike and Mike.
Ferguson, the right people, the right products, right around the corner. Visit Ferguson.com.
Okay, Mike and Mike in our Sports Center brought to you by AutoZone. We're giving you a chance to be on the road with us to the national championship game. Be listening every weekday for your chance to win the Mike and Mike on the road to the college football playoff sweepstakes. It's presented by AutoZone. Visit mikesroadtothecfp.com for official rules. We're giving you the word again in a half hour. 9:20 Eastern, 8:20 Central. We're giving you the word and the ways to enter. You could be on your way with us to the national championship game. We also have Brock Huard coming up in hour number 4. We had Heather Dinich in hour number 2, Tommy Waddle in hour number 1. If you miss anything on Mike and Mike, you can listen to any and all 4 hours on demand in the ESPN app. It's available under the tab that says Listen. All right, before I let Louis Riddick go, I said, Louis, you can have the floor here, any football topic you want, and you told me you think yesterday we saw a Super Bowl preview.
Yeah, I think Seattle's back. I think they're about to make that second half surge because the offensive line started capturing the line of scrimmage. They're running the football better. They're going to have a 3-headed monster at running back with C.J. Prosise, Thomas Rawls when he gets back and he's ready to roll, and Christian Michael. Russell's healthy. Russell's a nightmare when he's healthy. Doug Baldwin, he's not pedestrian, folks. There's nothing about Doug Baldwin that's pedestrian. He's one of the best receivers in the National Football League. Jimmy Graham is going to get his, and this defense is lights out. I'm excited that they're back because they were teetering. They were teetering on the edge here, and I didn't know if Tom Cable would be able to get this offensive line to go. New England's going to be there. I wouldn't sweat the fact that look, they don't have Jamie Collins and Chandler Jones anymore. I know that they're good football players. Give Bill the benefit of the doubt. They'll get it figured out. They could have won that game last night. We could be talking about a totally different scenario here if LeGarrette Blount extends the football over the goal line. If Tom Brady doesn't fumble that snap on the quarterback sneak, he's in there. He's in there. They had moved the line of scrimmage, it looked like from the TV copy, enough for him to get in there and score a touchdown. Those are the 2 best teams, I believe, in the NFL when it's all said and done.
Mike, so you're not putting Dallas as the best team in the NFC.
Basically, are you setting up the matchup with Dallas and Seattle?
In
now,
the NFC Championship?
The way it would go, if it keeps kind of going it would be in Dallas.
Yeah.
That game. And then you're talking what the matchup, we can't gush enough about that offensive line against that defense for Seattle.
Yep.
That's a matchup made in heaven.
That's a heavyweight fight. You can imagine the hits that'll be going on in that game. I'd love to see Cam Chancellor. And look, they already met once in the preseason.
Right.
When you saw Zeke going up against that defense, and you saw some of the hits that were taking place then. I'm sure Seattle would like another crack at Zeke in particular and see what they could do against that rushing offense.
I'm just looking at the remaining schedules. Seattle has the Eagles. They have Tampa, Carolina, Green Bay, the Rams, and the Cardinals. They need to make a game up somewhere along the line.
Dallas, I'm looking at Dallas. You're talking about Baltimore, Washington, Minnesota, the Giants, Tampa Bay, Detroit, Philadelphia.
I mean, do you want how much is home field going to matter? And again, we're projecting ahead to something. Look how good the entire NFC East is. Let's see what happens with the Giants tonight. The entire NFC East is in the discussion. We keep talking about the AFC West, and there are 3 teams there with 7 wins. Look at the NFC East.
Yeah, right now, both wild cards come from the NFC East, just like they do from the AFC West. So you're right. So there's 3 teams in each of those
and
divisions
even the team that wouldn't be in has a winning record, and actually I think has the 3rd best point differential in the National Football League, right? And that's the Eagles. So, I mean, the Eagles are in last place in that division. I believe they have the 3rd best score. Here it is. Yeah, they do. They have the 3rd best point differential in the entire National Football League. They're in last place in the NFC East. Now, we'll see what happens with the Giants tonight, but the point remains. And they're doing it with a rookie quarterback.
That is amazing.
Another thing I'll say is about this, about Dallas is this. Look, I think that rookie rushing record is going down. I think Zeke's going over 1,800 yards. And he's going to be knocking. I believe he's going to be – he needs a couple games in here where he absolutely just blows it out. Like against maybe a team like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, maybe Detroit, where he's pushing 170, 180. I still believe he can get 2,000. Well, I don't know if they'll try and get him there, but I think he could still get there, which would be amazing.
2,000 rushing yards, not
2,000 not total yards, rushing yards.
Rushing yards.
I think he'll get 1,800 rushing yards this year.
So he'll break the record.
I think he will.
He'll break the rookie record.
Yep.
I agree with that. I don't know how significant that is. I mean, would you be concerned at all about wear and tear? He's a rookie. Mike, you talked about rookie wall.
Yeah. You know, let's see. In some games, you know, again, they bring in Alfred Morris, who they signed in the offseason. I think that was a good acquisition. So, as I mentioned, he has, I think, 216 touches right now, sitting with 9 games played. So, yeah, you do have to somewhat be careful of that, but he is protected awfully well.
You know, the 3 of us are all old enough to remember a time when this was the norm. Rookie running backs would come into the NFL and they'd be awesome every year. George Rogers, Barry Sims, the name just Barry Sanders, Billy Sims. Kurt Warner was a running back in Seattle. Eric Dickerson. A guy would come into the league and set the world on fire every single year, and then they would get beaten up as running backs do, and most of them would kind of fall by the wayside. Zeke Elliott, this is sort of a throwback to what football used to be.
No doubt. Look, there's some exciting young runners in the NFL, and we've talked about 3 of them. I mentioned 3 of them right now. I mean, who's more exciting than Melvin Gordon? Coming off a microfracture surgery in January of this past year.
Yeah.
Who's more exciting right now than Jay Ajayi, as long as he can keep it together and his body doesn't break apart? There are some strong, powerful runners that remind you of the 90s, of the 80s, when running backs were the featured players. And Ezekiel, hey, the only reason I say the whole 2,000 thing is because when I said it when he first got drafted by the Cowboys, that was the first thing I said. I said, look, this easy 2K, I think he could get to 2,000 yards. And people were just like, are you out of your mind? It's just not going to happen. Look, the offensive line, it's one of a kind.
Yep.
It's been a long time since we've seen a team dominate like this since the old Cowboys of the early 90s.
And you know what? They're all young. They're all young.
They have good receiving threats all over the place, so it opens it up. Witten and Beasley and obviously Dez, they're very good.
The boys are back. There's no question about that.
How about
you're going to be
Cowboys?
hearing from them the rest of the year.
Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests still to come on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line include Brock Heward and Donovan McNabb. Louis Riddick, you're the best.
I appreciate it.
Every Monday with us on Mike and Mike. Back in just a moment.
Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans proudly supports Mike and Mike. Rocket Mortgage brings the mortgage process into the 21st century. Forget about digging through stacks of paperwork. This completely online process lets you safely share your bank statements and pay stubs with a touch of a button. Using your phone or tablet, you can get approved for purchase or refinance in just a few minutes. Get a custom mortgage solution at your own pace, whenever and wherever you want. So if you're looking to refinance or buy a home, check out Rocket Mortgage today at quickenloans.com/Mikes.
Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Hey, basketball fans, I'm Cassidy Hubbard. On the latest NBA Lockdown podcast, me and Amin El-Hassan, along with producer Josh, discuss, is James Harden the real MVP this season? Are you a believer in him? Download the podcast.